Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and Recon is currently out, which allows you to test what could be the future of the game. And today I'm going to be letting you know why I am incredibly worried about the future of World of Tanks if Recon was to go into the random queue without the ability to turn it off. Now look, I don't want to make this video too sensational, even though I feel very strongly about it, so I want to clarify that firstly this is being tested. It's just very worrying it's going into a Recon game mode without going on to say like a sandbox test server or even just a regular test server. At least I didn't manage to play it on the regular test server. Maybe I was in America and I was busy, and I wish I had, because I'm very concerned, to say the least. Now, let me clarify. This isn't going into the game tomorrow. It might not be going into the game next month. It might not be going into the game for a very long time, and it might not go into the game at all. However, when something goes into a position like this, and knowing how Wargaming absolutely love to pretty much say that this is going to be brilliant, wonderful, and once something goes onto a test server, I feel like it's too late inside Wargaming's wheels. But I feel like I have to say something about Recon and how it happens now. I don't want to be a doomsayer, but I feel so strongly about this that this video, it's not going to be super positive. Okay, so firstly, what is Recon and what is the local weather effects? Well, do you see on the minimap? Do you see this little grey circle? This is a sandstorm. Now, firstly, I'd like to say, it looks really cool. I think visually it's nice. Personally, for me, after about half an hour or an hour of playing it, I forget about the visual effects and I just focus on the gameplay. It's a bit like when Wargaming released the fantastic patch back in the day that made the map look glorious. Sure, it's great for fresh eyes, but it doesn't make a difference for players who have been playing the game for a long time. Now, what does this sandstorm mean? Well, when you're inside the sandstorm, when you're inside the rain clouds, as I'm going to be showing you on other maps, or fog on other maps, apart from looking slightly different, looking cool, it halves your view range. It means that you're spotted for half the duration, but this is the thing that I had no idea would happen. You cannot see into, and you cannot see out of the local weather effects. So what this means, as I fly around the mini-map here to give you an idea, is let's imagine and look at the mini-map as I'm flying in. Let's imagine I'm a light tank. I can only see outside of the sandstorm now. I can't see into it. Now, as soon as I cross the threshold, then I would be able to only see inside the sandstorm. So this area here will become its own little arena. And so that means that, for example, on this map, that all the tank destroyers that would love to sit up on this ridgeline, they cannot shoot. Well, they can shoot into the sandstorm, but they can't see inside the sandstorm. And all of the positions are not being transmitted by players inside it. Well, they are, but it's just they can't actually see them on the minimap. So this means that unless you're a very good player and you're able to use the line on the minimap to be able to gauge where that player is, and you can't render them, it's almost like blind firing them as if you're outside the render distance of 568 meters or 564 meters. You can't shoot them. And so what this means is that Wargaming have created on this map 2 sandstorm areas where players can just go in and fight as if it's like a map within a map, or it's like a mini arena. Now, a lot of you might be thinking that sounds like really cool, really fresh. But today's video, I'm going to be highlighting why, after that kind of immediate appeal of, wow, I can go in and I can fight in an arena, why it has huge ramifications that World of Tanks that may or may not be very good, depending on the kinds of tanks you play. So where did that leopard come from? Where did the manticore come from? Well, it makes perfect sense. And the perfect sense is they were inside this little sandstorm. And as soon as they cross this threshold line here that you can only see via the mini-map, then suddenly they just appear. Because it's like this, it's like as if there's a wall around that area. And while you can traverse through the wall, you can't see in to the wall, and people inside the wall can't see you as well. And so this means that all of the choke zones in World of Tanks they're now just gone. If we imagine that previously we had tank destroyers that were sitting up on this position shooting tanks as they advanced through there, and you had tank destroyers up in this position that would be shooting tanks as they managed to come around that corner, they just can't do that anymore. They can't do that. And so consequently what this means is that tank destroyers just have to go elsewhere, or alternatively that they just don't play. What it also means is that self-propelled guns can't shoot in, well, they can shoot into these areas, but they can't see the tanks that are in these areas to accurately shoot at them. And so unless you're a legendary artillery player who is able to use the minimap to zoom all the way in, to pinpoint, and then play as if you're playing a game of battleships instead of playing a game of World of Tanks, then you're going to be in a lot of trouble. So watch the mechanic here. Not going to see the Kranvang, not going to see the T-125 because they are outside the Sandstorm now. We're going to crest the ridge, and oh my word, he's right there because he entered the Sandstorm. Now I leave the Sandstorm so I can see the T-125. The Kranvang has a bit of a delay. It's not as if you instantly disappear. I think you've got 3 seconds or so, 3-4 seconds, depending on the build that you use. And that, in essence, is what this is about. This game was 5 minutes long, and this was one of the longer and more competitive and close games that we played. So what is the result of this? Well, what the result is I'm not sure if this is because, for example, people just want to test the game mechanics and they want to just go into the Sandstorm. But now, 36 hours after Recon being released, and when this video is released, it's going to be 48, people are still going there. And what happens is you get these huge, big fights. Everyone likes the word huge and big, right? Everyone wants more. That end up in being this kind of like crazy snowball. So right now what you're going to see is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Even the self-propelled guns are going inside. They're going inside the Sandstorm, I guess, to be able to see tanks, to be able to shoot it. Weird, right? Now we're going to have all of these vehicles just crest this ridge. And look, let me pause. Usually in this position, you would get shot from the mid-ridge. You would get shot from anyone at the back here. Look at the minimap. I guess I can just use the free cam to show you what I'm trying to suggest. So usually in this position, I would be terrified about getting shot by tank destroyers. Can I fly above the Sandstorm and show you? Yeah, I can. So I'd usually be shot by all of the tank destroyers over here. I'd usually be shot by all of the people on the mid-ridge. And when I advance further, I'll get absolutely dominated by tanks that are in this position. But it just doesn't happen. So accordingly, what is happening? When you don't have to worry about getting shot in the flanks, what kind of tanks are going to be best? The ones with the frontal armor. And also, when you crest ridge lines and you don't have to worry about getting shot in the side of the turret, what tanks are going to be best? Is the ones with the good turret armor that don't have to worry about that kind of shenanigans. And so we are less than 2 minutes into a game on Sand River, a map which is usually quite slow. And maybe this is bold. This game is over. It's over. 2 minutes in and a snowball has happened. There's no way they're going to stop us from being able to crush and take this one down. So I'll just skip the next couple of minutes of gameplay. And as you would expect, we've got a huge glut of tanks in their base. And less than 4 minutes into the battle on usually what is one of the slowest maps, the game is over. Now, it's not just about snowballing that's very weird about this mechanic. One thing that can also happen is when you're on the fringes of these kind of arenas that you get very interesting mechanics with regards to how the spotting works. So keep in mind of looking at the minimap. Looking at the minimap is very important for all of you, and not just looking at this 50B, because you'll look at when our bat chat enters the fire here and when the bat chat doesn't. So this 50B is going to come across. He's right in front of us, We shoot him once. We're going to heal our gunner or something there. Shoot him twice. Still managing... Oh. Wow. He's kind of inside our proxy spotting distance, but because I guess he's on the other fog line, we can't see him, and he just disappeared like a complete ghost. I'm sorry, Wargaming, but having like arbitrary lines to dictate where tanks can like appear and disappear and can't see in, I mean, the fire's over here. It's not gradual in any way. A 50B should not be able to just disappear when he's what he felt like he was about 50 meters away from me. I couldn't tell if it was a mechanic of the proxy spotting was disabled, but the 50B just managed to disappear. Now imagine that with an autoloader. An autoloader comes out the fog, just dumps on you and goes back in with no hope of being able to catch them. And they could time that as well, especially when people have more time with this and they get used to the fog or the fire mechanics. They're going to know how long they have once they go into the fog or the fire to be able to keep shooting you before they can time to disappear. But what I want to show you now, and I'm going to speed this game up, otherwise I'll be here all day, is show you the real ugly of this. I loaded into this game. It looks like I was on my desktop, or maybe I was just answering a question in Twitch chat. I go and I mess about over here, and we're a minute into the game, and I'm thinking, what should I do in the Minotauro, you know? Well, how about I just drive in? And you'll see that I initially get absolutely blasted by this position up there. And that's because I was outside the fog, and so they could still be able to see me. Now that is natural World of Tanks. Big load of snipers, you drive out in the open, you get punished. However, now that I'm in the fog, I can just advance at these guys, and I'm in this little arena. So unless they come down, as the Leopard does, who gets punished because we're in the arena, the enemies have to drive down the slope, down the safety of the bushes into the fog to then spot me, but then they have to fight me when they have no cover. And what's the real result? I can just basically take all of the choke points out of the game, and because I'm in an overpowered, hull down, turreted tank destroyer, now I can just go and get all of the snipers, all of the tank destroyers out of this game and just completely dominate them. And here we are. Even though I was AFK pretty much for the first minute, we're 3 minutes into this game and it is already done, boys and girls. And this is where hopefully I'll come to my conclusion. This ruins World of Tanks, for me, at least for my enjoyment. It's kind of funny at first to just go and play an overpowered tank and just rush in and control that area and then go, haha, they can't deal with me. And then you realize that when there's no build-up, there's no tension, there's no drama, and all there is a snowball, that this game it's awful. I can't believe that it's taken me so long to realize that actually the game length in World of Tanks is almost perfect. And very worryingly, Wargaming have taken 6 of the maps that had the mid to longer playtimes, and they've just absolutely destroyed them with the way that people are playing because of these mechanics. And I don't think it's just because this is Recon. I don't think this is just that players are trying these mechanics out for the first time. I think they've already started to figure them out, and they're using them and they're abusing them to be able to create super fast, just completely unsatisfying, awful snowball games. And here's the real thing. In World of Tanks, at least in my opinion, the most powerful and meta tanks are the heavies and the mediums. What tank types do you think, when you remove the choke points in World of Tanks, are going to benefit? The heavies and the mediums. Those were the vehicles, especially the heavies, that couldn't just drive out into the open because they've got frontal loaded armor and no armor on the side, where usually snipers would be able to catch them out or artillery would be able to slow them down. For example, on this map, all that really happens is the whole no man's area, or the dead zone in the center of the map, which actually created distance between the teams, is just completely mitigated. Now, light tanks are pretty irrelevant because a heavy tank can just push them and there's nothing they can do to stop it, because these dead zones or the arenas aren't actually coverable by the traditional sniper locations. And so I think this will kill World of Tanks, at least for players who don't just want to play heavies and mediums and play 2 or 3 minute games day in, day out. If you're a tank destroyer player, or even someone who just occasionally plays tank destroyers, or if you're somebody who likes to play light tanks, or you're somebody who just likes the drama of having a 10-minute round which is close and isn't just an awful snowball, this will destroy World of Tanks for you, at least in my humble opinion. And at a time when I think that we don't need the game to get faster, irrelevant of what Wargaming seems to throw in with turbos and engineers to allow tanks like the Mouse to now drive around at pretty much about 30 kilometers an hour inside World of Tanks. I think 2025 should not be the year where this becomes effectively like a mobile game, where you're in, you're out, you're in, you're out. It's okay when I'm on the toilet wargaming. This sounds bizarre, but look, I'm on my PC. I want to play like a satisfying, longer game that I've fallen in love with for the last 12, 14 years. And I can tell you that the way that this feels, it's absolute trash, and I'd rather play a different game. Wargaming needs to go back to the drawing board and refigure this out and abandon the whole mechanic of not being able to shoot in and out of these zones immediately. These arenas don't work. They kill the choke points. They kill the class-based balance of World of Tanks. Tank destroyers, light tanks, even artillery, they're all necessary inside the game. This can't just be World of heavy tanks and mediums. This just felt like some trash game of Onslaught. It's awful, and I think it ruins the random queue. Consequently, I truly hope that if Wargaming do push this awful mechanic into the game, they do so allowing players to opt out by default. Everyone should have this opted out by default, and it should be something that players have to opt in if they want to play it. However, that creates a problem in itself, because imagine if those players who opt in their heavy tanks, for example, and they're trying to get their third mark of excellence, that they get to go in and brawl without the threat of any tank destroyers, light tanks, or so on and so forth slowing them down. And if you're someone who wants to play tank destroyers, for example, let's say you're playing on the North American server or the Asia server where the queue times, they're getting longer as the game becomes less popular, the more that Wargaming do to fragment the player base will increase the queue times for people who actually want to play the game that World of Tanks is famous for, and really the majority of players want to engage with. So I would encourage Wargaming to change this in multiple ways. Number one, I don't think that the blocking of vision is good. I think the reduction of vision, if anything, is probably the most useful aspect. Also, I think these events should be dynamic. Maybe they should start, they should stop, a bit like with the dynamic events, the random events that you sometimes get. If you like that, I personally don't, but I can see that some people do. And if that's the case, maybe, for example, a fire should start. It should clear some of the bushes. It should allow then an arena to form where people can push and not worry about artillery and not worry about tank destroyers. But please don't do that right from the start, Wargaming. Do it much later on in the battle if there is a stalemate. Allow people to still have that period of vision-based combat, long-range shots, and where you can still make bold plays if you're able to back them up. I don't think this map needs to have, for example, the choke point killed, especially since Wargaming seems to want to put hold down locations every 50 meters. I have zero problem pushing from the west into this position every single time, and from the east we can either control the center, or alternatively we can try and fight back and try and take these positions as well, ending up in like a checkmate position here to go hold down against our opponents. This ruins this map, and it's pretty much the case of ruining the maps for all of the other iterations that Wargaming have put in. Now, what I'm also very concerned about is that earlier this year, Wargaming closed the forums, which I think was one of the best resources for being able to find help and also maybe to be able to gauge player response and feedback. But now it's all done on Discord, which I don't think personally is nearly as effective as a written comment on, say, like a YouTube video to be able to gauge feedback. So now Wargaming are completely depending on, I guess, you taking part in the Recon event and being able to earn the right to take the survey. Now, here's the issue. Wargaming are gatekeeping these surveys behind playing about 50 battles to be able to get all of the maps. And while the rewards are cool, if you want to invest those 50 games into a game mode you might hate to be able to get 4 days of premium, all the power to you. But this seems like such a bizarre option to me, because effectively, for people who don't like these mechanics, and they don't want to go and suffer in their tank destroyers, or their light tanks, or maybe their self-propelled gun main players, is Wargaming expecting a self-propelled gun player to go in and play 50 games and basically just have an awful time, just to be able to earn the right to be able to then take these surveys and give their responses? I can't believe they're gatekeeping getting player feedback behind what could be a suffer wall for people who have no interest in playing the Recon mission. And I truly hope that Wargaming realize the kind of echo chamber that they're going to be creating here by making it so that people have to play 50 games of Recon before they deem that their opinion is now worthy of feedback. And so to all of you in the World of Tanks community, I'm not going to tell you to go and suffer playing 30 to 50 games of this, depending on how lucky you get with your map rotation, to be able to feed Wargaming your opinion. But I would thoroughly recommend that you leave YouTube comments either here or on their YouTube videos, or go on to Discord to be able to let them know exactly how this will make you feel, especially if you're someone who likes playing tank destroyers, light tanks, or artillery. And so, ladies and gents, boys and girls, I really wish I could be more happy about this. Honestly, I have been depressed playing Recon game mode, thinking, is this the future of World of Tanks in 2025? Am I going to be playing 2 to 3 to 4 minute battles where it's just all predetermined nonsense as to which team sends more tanks inside the arena? Why do I have to sit here just feeling depressed with Wargaming's just desire to just remove all tanks from the game that aren't mediums and heavies and just have everybody just sit down opposite each other like it's Onslaught? Why am I feeling so dissatisfied and disillusioned with Wargaming's vision of what World of Tanks should be? Is this something that only I'm feeling? But please let me know in the comments if this is something that you are feeling as well. But anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, wish I could be more happy, but this is how I felt. Really hope this video was useful for you. I'd love to hear in the comments down below all of your opinions. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And if you're watching this video as it goes live on Wednesday, I'm going live all day on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. So come tell me what you think about Recon. We're getting some brand new drop tokens for your pumpkins for your 3D styles. So really looking forward to seeing you all live right now. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.